Hello, welcome to Tech Smarter. My name is Abby Ritchie. I'm the tech guru here at the Smarter service, and you can find me right here every Wednesday talking with people who are engaged in age tech innovation. It's an exciting place to be. There's so much happening, and I couldn't be more honored to be hosting this show. Before we get started, I want to thank Leading Age Arizona for being the official sponsor and the Smarter Service for sponsoring this episode. And if you happen to be a senior living operator and or challenged with your residents' tech needs, we want you to reach out to us. You can go ahead and DM me anytime on LinkedIn because we have professionalized this service and we would love to make it work for your needs. Now, without further ado, I'd like to bring on my guest today. We have Joanna LaFleur. Joanna is a recreational therapist, dementia expert, author of Bringing Joy Every Day, and the founder of Memory Lane Assisted Living. We're going to talk about her years of clinical and entrepreneurial experience, along with her massive digital footprint, reaching over 400,000 caregivers. Welcome back to Tech Smarter, Joanna.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, as we were talking before the show started, it's been about a year. Would you like to bring people up to speed with everything that you've been doing over the past year?
The past year is when I wrote my book, first of all. So that was a big accomplishment. Very excited about that. I actually wrote it in about a month and a half, but it's about 20 years of stuff that I've gained and that I've put all into a book. So that was exciting. I also started full-time content creation without doing any other little jobs here and there in January. So I've been just putting everything into that, doing a lot of speaking in Michigan and other states. So it's been a wonderful year.
Yeah, I want to ask you purely just for anyone who's watching this and is starting their journey in social media posting, in the past year, how have you seen your efforts grow from posting?
Well, one thing I always tell everyone is something my sister told me when I first started. And I was like, when I first started, I was like, I don't know if I want to do videos. I don't like how I look in my videos. And she was like, you know what? No one cares. Just do your video. And I think that has totally proven to be true over time. Social media is its own animal, right? And it does what it wants when it wants. We don't have a lot of control over it. But what I found that works is just providing very authentic, bite-sized information and talking about things that not everyone talks about, right? Making your listeners feel that you are compassionate about what their situation is, but also offering practical tips and tricks that can actually help things get better for them. And I've learned a lot of things about hooks and about acting versus talking on the screen. And I think, what I've learned is just keep trying and keep trying new things.
That's right. That's right. You have to keep throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, and then that'll stick for like a week, and then you have to do it all over again.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I speak with so many people exactly on this topic, and a lot of people will say, "Well, I hate social media or I hate making videos." But the reality is that this is not about you. This is about the
Mhm.
person that you've been tasked to serve, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
if it doesn't challenge you, it's not going to change you, and it's not going to impact lives. Plus, with all of the knowledge and wisdom that you've gathered over the past 20 years, like you have something valuable to
Right.
share with other people.
Exactly.
You've got little nuggets of truth, and just
Mhm.
delivering those like bite-sized pieces and instilling passion and empowerment into other people is huge. So well done.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor.
For anyone who's new to you, could you tell us how you happened to start this journey?
Yeah, so my grandma actually got diagnosed with Alzheimer's type dementia, and I was in school for elementary education. And I got a job as an activity assistant at a nursing home because I thought, well, if I can't help my grandma who's in another place, then I at least can help other grandpas and grandmas. And I totally fell in love with elders. I just realized like this is my calling, this is my passion. And I learned at that time what recreational therapy was. And so I changed my major in like almost the middle of the semester and changed it to recreational therapy and kind of never looked back. I worked in the industry for many years. And then about 13 years ago, I started my own home care company. And then later on, one, then two, then three dementia care homes. In 2023, I sold my company and needed to do a pivot from operations. And so I started doing my videos and speaking and consulting. And I've been doing that for the last 3 years.
So proud of you because we've
Thank you.
been following each other for years now on social media, and it's really gratifying to see how much you've come along and how much you've developed. And, the way you start out is not always the way you're going to end. And, as we learn and grow and develop and figure out like what really is the best use of our skills, like things mold and shift
Yes,
into something else, right?
exactly. Yeah. And I remember back when I had my memory care homes, I used to tell the social worker, which was my really good friend who worked for me, and I used to say, I just want to be a speaker. I just want to be able to get my voice out to the world. I want to be able to travel and speak, and I'm literally living my dream now. So I'm so happy.
That is so awesome. Sometimes you just have to speak it out loud, right?
Hmm.
And say, this is what I want to do. I am
Hmm.
claiming this.
Right.
And keep that in the forefront of your mind because their opportunities are out there for
Hmm.
sure. But I want to backpedal just a little bit because it doesn't happen overnight. And it
Hmm.
certainly does happen with like a lot of forward momentum. And I'm curious, as a female founder, how you were able to sort of push through some of that pushback.
Well, honestly, when I worked in communities, I tried, but it didn't work that well. But I would say this: if you, the world needs what you have in your heart, right? And so if you have something that you feel strongly about, I did. I had a lot of things I felt strongly about. In fact, I say that I got fired a lot in senior care for my opinion. And so I used to get fired for it, and now I'm getting paid for it. So what is in your heart is something that needs to come out, and it's okay if other people don't agree. Not everyone's going to agree with you. That's okay. In fact, if everyone did, it's not that great. So really just be confident in your idea and just do something about it. For me, I was like, I'm not going to keep working in these communities where I know the care is not good. I'm going to do something different. I always knew there was a better way to care for people with dementia, and I just had to step out and do it. And one thing I say about me is like, every single business I've started, this is my fourth business I've started, and every single one, I have not been scared. And you know why? Because I know that me as a person, I am fully confident that no matter what happens, I will do whatever it takes to make the business succeed. And that's the kind of confidence you have to have when you're starting a business.
100%. I really appreciate hearing you say that. I am from four generations of entrepreneurs on both sides of my family. And so I have a very low risk, well, I guess very high risk tolerance
Yeah.
because I have seen the people I'm closest to be so passionate about what they're working on and have to sell the company, or I've seen them start new companies, but I've seen them continuously focus on serving people, on being passionate. And the fact is that you're going to fail, right?
Hmm. You are.
But you don't know it's a no until
Right.
you try. And so I totally appreciate you saying that because it like relieves the pressure off of a lot of situations.
Yeah. And I think as women, sometimes we feel like we need to be ready and we
Mm,
need to have everything and then do it. But honestly, do it scared because you don't have to have all your ducks in a row. You can figure it out as you go, especially with the other resources that are out there right now. You can figure it out.
yeah, totally. I know early on in my career, I had this in my career as a tech guru, I had this thing where I would just do one scary thing every day. And I'd actually do that as early in the day as possible. So, I could just like knock it out. And what it
Hmm.
does is it really helps you develop a muscle
Hmm.
memory, and some strength and some confidence in yourself that, hey, even if you fail at this, you're still okay because you were true to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that, well, one of the things I've always focused on is just on caring for people. And there's a quote by Henry Ford, and he says something like, don't worry about money in business, worry about your people. And then the only money worry you're going to have is making too much of it. And I've had people tell me, like, well, how did you succeed? And I've said, my number one thing, do what you say you're going to do, because there's a lot of people that don't do that anymore, and that is honestly my biggest key to success.
Yeah, having integrity, having follow up, having the communication skills, 100%. It's not only you being successful with people you're working with, but also with yourself. So when
Yeah.
we're strong to our own commitments, that gives us the confidence to continue to show up. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned this earlier, that you always saw that there was a different way to provide care, and so I'm curious, how did you see that, and how have you done that?
I mean, there's a big buzzword, right? And it's called person centered care. And essentially, what that means to me is that you're treating them like a human being. Like, we are all different. We are different species, male and female. We're different cultures. We think different. We act different. We have different needs, right? And when we treat everyone with dementia the same, we are going to fail every single time, because not only are there multiple types of dementia, but then you've got all the other preferences. And so for me, the biggest thing that I wanted to do was create a better ratio for care so that that could happen. And in my memory care homes, I had a 1-to-3 staffing ratio. And that is truly what I've always believed is going to be necessary for you to actually be able to provide individualized care, which is what people need. And I mean, I can tell you a million stories about it, but one of the residents that we had, he was very aggressive. He actually got kicked out of 6 communities before coming to us, and it was his birthday, and so a lot of people would never take someone aggressive on an outing, and I knew that he really wanted a steak from Applebee's, and so I asked my caregiver, would you be willing to take him out? So she took him out individually, independently, on his birthday. We have the most incredible picture of him giving the best smile, that he was thrilled on his birthday, and that ended up being the last birthday that he had. And I'm never going to regret that opportunity. I just think it's so important to be able to treat people with dementia as they want to be treated. And you can't do that without better staffing ratios.
Yeah, you really can't do that. Another thing you mentioned that occurred to me is that if when you want to serve these people, like to fall in love with the person you're serving as opposed to the solution you're providing, because the solution you're providing is not going to fit every single person, and every person is looking for and is needing a different way of comfort and engagement. And on a practical basis, how do you teach this to caregivers?
You know what? Good caregivers have the instincts in them. A lot of the stories that I share and the techniques I'm sharing, I got from my caregivers, because I gave them a very strong base of knowledge and understanding of what dementia was and why they do the things that they do. And they had enough empathy and compassion to put things into place. I'll give you another example. We had a resident that would not take her medicine for anything. She had frontotemporal dementia, and she loved cookies. So my caregivers got the idea to take an Oreo cookie and to open it up, take the stuffing from the inside, and then we got approval to crush her medication with a little bit extra frosting in that frosting, mix it up, put it back in the cookie, give her a cookie, and then also take a cookie ourselves and say, let's have a cookie. And I'm telling you, that worked every single time. That's one of the number one techniques I teach now. And I didn't come up with that, they did. So I think you have to give your caregivers a basic knowledge and understanding and training so that they can have empathy and understanding, and let them do it. They have phenomenal ideas. My company got better every single year because I listened to my caregivers' ideas.
I love that. Are these things that you cover as well as activities in your book, Bringing Joy Every Day?
Yeah, I mean, it has tons of different activities. It has a theme for every day and 3 different activities. I try to do some things that are really easy that families already have in their home. So, it has a little bit of everything for every person, male, female, all different cultures. Yeah.
Could you give me an example of an activity that transforms, say, a stressful moment into a connection?
One of the things I teach that people don't really think about is to do like a little silly fashion show,
Okay.
or just simply have, like, we had like a whole box of just funny hats at
Uh-huh.
Memory Lane. And anytime the situation would start getting stressful, I'd literally just go put a funny hat on and I would start dancing around and be silly and put music on. And I'd be like, come on, dance with me. And the tension was just not there anymore. And so I think, using music or silliness or funniness can be a great technique.
Yeah, I love that. Do you also guide families in this same way?
Oh yeah. Yep. I meet with families one-on-one all the time, talk through what's going on with their person, their type of dementia and their struggles, and then provide solutions and a plan that they can move forward. And you know what, my ideas and my tips, they're not like life-changing crazy ideas. They're really practical things that it's hard to think about when you're in the midst of it. And sometimes caregivers will be like, I don't know why I didn't think of that. Well, you didn't think of that because you don't know what you don't know, and you're in a crazy stressful situation.
Right, right. But just having those activities and those ideas at your fingertips, and just also increasing the knowledge and the education around them, so that when the moment does come up, because it will,
Yeah.
that someone has the muscle memory to bring on an activity that's going to diffuse the tension.
Yeah, anything with music or purpose and meaning is a great way to do that. I need your help. Like, we had a resident that all he wanted to do was just do the dishes. He did the dishes his whole life. He just wanted to do them. So what we would do is just put a bunch of Tupperware in the sink with warm soapy water, and we'd be like, "Could you do the dishes for us? We really need your help." And he would just do the dishes, and he loved that every day. Had another resident, she wanted to shovel snow. She was in a wheelchair. And the caregivers are like, what are we going to do? She gets so mad at us. We can't let her shovel snow. I said, why can't you? Take her outside, put a coat on her, take her outside on the deck, give her a shovel, let her shovel some snow off. And after like 3 shovels, she's like, I'm good. And then she never talked about it again.
Yeah, it's so simple, but it's also the type of thing where you just have to be listening
Yes.
for how you can solve it instead of applying a technique or a solution that worked for someone else. It's so individual to the approach. When you're working with, say, healthcare leaders and maybe even executive directors, for instance, how do you encourage them to use modern social platforms to help scale the education of their staff?
I think we need to be realistic, right? The people that are caring, that we're served, the people that are working for us as care staff now, a lot of them are Gen Z. And Gen Z is all about quick and meaningful in engagement to keep attention, right? So I think for me, I encourage people to even just use my short little 2-minute videos in the like during stand up, or like when you're doing your meeting or shift change, doing a 2-minute training with them right then and there and saying, try using this in your shift today. So I think, it's important to be able to do things in bite-sized pieces. It's important to meet your staff where they're at. No one wants to sit through a 3-hour video training anymore, right? So giving like very using people that have dynamic personalities when they're training, and using a lot of examples or stories works well, and just putting it out there for your people.
Yes, yes. You mentioned earlier, and we talked a little bit about family caregivers, and I know that you were able to gather up so many questions. What are some of the different types of questions that maybe you received from family caregivers at 2 in the morning compared to what they ask a traditional doctor during an appointment?
The thing is, one of the things I've heard from caregivers is like that they are drowning, and that I am basically like a life jacket for them. And the way that I'm doing that is because I talk about everything. And they know that they can talk about sex or poop or whatever the thing is, because that stuff needs to be talked about in dementia care too. So nothing is off limits. But I mean, I get emails, I mean, that it really almost feels like trauma dumping sometimes, when people are just having the worst day of their lives with their person. They have no idea what happened. Their mom fell 7 times while they were trying to redirect them, or mom hasn't slept for 3 days, and it's like they're just beside themselves on what to do.
Yeah, it is so intense and so difficult, and I can see how you would be receiving these different types of questions that are a little more personal, a little more traumatic than perhaps what is spoken in a regular doctor appointment. I want to shift the narrative a little bit and discuss technology. There's so many emerging tech tools that caregivers are using today, including smart home devices. And Do you feel like they are actually supporting caregivers or adding more frustration?
No, I think there are some really cool things out there. I know one family that I'm working with is using a sensor system that tells like when they ate, when they drank, when they need to change their breathe. It's like a whole sensor system of everything going on. It can test things like symptoms of a UTI before they get a UTI or before it gets worse, or like things like pneumonia before it gets worse. I think all of that is wonderful. Anything that can help take some of the load off of the caregiver, I think is a great thing to have.
Yeah, I know that it also adds a certain amount of frustration just because of the technical piece there. It's something that we really focus on at the Smarter Service is helping both the caregiver and the community and the client or the patient a little more information about how to use something because it's one thing to have like all of these great smart home devices, and it's another thing for them to really suck up all your time, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
your focus. And we know that as time goes on, things are just going to become more techy and more
Yes.
tied to technology. But I do love the sensors, and I will say over and over and over again, like because it values someone's dignity and their privacy. And some
Yes.
of the other things that we install in homes, like cameras or microphone based, those are privacy invasive.
Hmm. Sometimes necessary though, for sure.
Yeah. When we think about like the broader healthcare ecosystem, which ways do you think that we could do a better job when we're equipping caregivers?
Well, really, I mean, the healthcare industry needs to improve significantly in our knowledge about dementia, number one. It's there, people, what you would think you would go to a doctor or a nurse or a hospital and they would understand dementia, and that is not the case at all. So I think, we have to do a better job of educating the people that are doing the care and the people that are serving people with dementia, right? I mean, I get constant questions like that of prescribing antipsychotic medications, for example, that make them so much worse, or that give them a diagnosis and send them home, or they're paying $10,000 a month for memory care communities and they haven't had a shower in 2 months and they have a rash all over their body. We've got to do better with education, and everyone that is going to be accessing and caring for people with dementia need a basic understanding of what it is, because they need to be able to have the empathy and understanding to be able to provide the care.
Yeah, 100%. And in terms of our family caregivers, are what would you recommend would be some boundaries to set early on while caring for a spouse or a parent?
Well, one of the things I tell them when I meet with them is, and you have to be realistic about it, number one, because sometimes not everything's going to happen. But what I say is, if you have a spouse and you're taking care of a parent, one of you or both of you together, is schedule a weekly date night and get someone to come in and schedule it on the schedule and say, Nothing is coming between us and that date night. That's the priority." Same thing with with doing things outside the home. Like, I encourage caregivers to do something like exercise outside the home or therapy outside the home, and that has to be a thing that's on the calendar, that's just as important as their appointments.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I love that. As we start to kind of wrap up here today, I want to ask you, what is one widespread myth about dementia that you'd like to dismantle once and for all?
So most people, when they think dementia, they're actually thinking of the Alzheimer's type dementia. There's multiple types of dementia. Dementia is the umbrella diagnosis. So people think dementia, memory loss, and that's not true. Dementia is a brain illness, and not every type of dementia even has memory loss, especially in the beginning of the illness. And so that is why it's so important to have a dementia diagnosis and to be able to care for them in the way that works best for their type of dementia, and then providing care in the way that they need it.
Got it. So powerful. You know, we're kind of dealing with this on a personal level with one of our family members, and it's been a huge challenge. So I really appreciate what you're adding to the conversation right now. If you are talking to a woman in healthcare that has an entrepreneurial idea, what is a piece of advice that you'd like to share with her?
I would say I kind of said it earlier, but my big one is like do it scared. Do it before you feel ready, really is what it is. And that you don't have to have 100% of the facts or the knowledge to make a decision. You can make a decision based on 80% of the facts and it's going to be okay. And when you do fail, because you will, use that as a stepping stone. Every single time something happened in my community, I did something wrong, a caregiver did something wrong, someone did something happened, I would change a policy, a procedure. I would do a training on it. I would do whatever it took so that that didn't happen again. But we can't sit in that and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. I can't believe I made that mistake. Hey, guess what? You're human. Your caregivers are human. Your residents are human. Everyone's going to make mistakes. You just need to improve upon them to become a better leader.
Yeah, 100%. You know, the thing is that we will never be ready. Ready is a myth, right?
Mm,
Ready is a myth. And the thing is just to start doing it today. And as you start doing it, you start gaining a sense of readiness and confidence. And then you find that your approach and your ability to show up starts to change little by little.
yeah. And then the other thing I encourage people to have is a business coach if possible, because my business coaches saved my life. And now I'm doing business coaching and I'm teaching people all the things that I had to Google at 2 a.m.
Yeah, the other thing too, and something that we've both been part of is a network of
Yes.
other people in the industry that can help you figure out ways to do things, whether it's through a virtual assistant or it's just a little tip or a trick for a founder. So
Hmm.
those opportunities are definitely out there. As you're thinking about some of your own personal tips or productivity or tech that you use, what are some of your favorites that come to mind?
Me and Claude and me and ChatGPT, we're like three besties. We're like triplets right now. So
Uh-huh.
I can't encourage using it enough, especially with the co-work thing that they have where they'll actually go on your laptop and do it. I am now an expert in web design and all the things I had no idea how to do previously because I have help like that. So I can't encourage you to use AI enough. Obviously, there's places not to use it. Like I'm not going to be using it as a video, or I'm not going to be using it as for when I'm writing things, but I'm going to use it for ideas and suggestions. It's going to help me a lot. So that's a big one for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great launching pad, right?
Mhm.
And Joanna, is it best for people to connect with you at your website, joannadementiaexpert.com,
Yep.
or via
That's
LinkedIn?
either way is fine. I check both. So
Okay, wonderful. So I really want to thank you for being with us here today and for sharing your wisdom and your expertise. And we are just all so very proud of how far you've come and how you just keep showing up for the people that you're serving. Thank you again for being my guest today.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And we want to thank those who participated in the chat. We love hearing from you. And we will see you all right back here next week for another episode of Tech Smarter. Thank you.